Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is going wonderful. Welcome to Card Making Fundamentals and welcome to lesson 3 of the Frosty Fun Classroom. I hope your weekend is off to a great start. I'm so glad you're joining me today. We're going to go ahead and create with lesson kit number 3. I'm going to keep this out. I already took it out of my bag here. I'm going to go over the supplies that we need real quick. We need a tape runner. We're going to need some scissors. You're going to need a black ink, an acrylic block, and of course something to clean your stamp, which I'm going to use baby wipes today. You're also going to need some glue, and you're going to need 3 inks. I'm using Distress Oxide inks today. I have Peacock Feathers, I have Mermaid Lagoon, and I have Broken China. If you guys are beginning crafters, you can use any 3 different blue inks that you have. Possibly 2. If you have just 2, that's fine too. But I'm going to use 3 to create a background. I'm going for one of those blues should be almost like a teal colored blue. This way we can kind of coordinate with our cardstock. But these are the 3 colors that I'm using today. So 3 different colors of blue inks. And then I think that's about it. So we're going to jump in and create our background. It worked out well when we did our background first. So we're going to grab our craft mat and we're going to do a little bit of ink smooshing. I'm going to put this off to the side. Inside of our lesson kit, we're going to take everything out. How about this? It doesn't look like there's much there. That's because we're going to do, for the most part, stamping. Inside of our lesson kit, we have 2 different shades or 2 different sizes of white cardstock. We want the heavy-duty one for our ink smooshing. So let's put everything off to the side and bring in our craft mat along with our scratch paper. I'm just going to use 1 sheet today. So now we have our craft mat. Had to find it. It was among our my craft desk, which is kind of messy. We are going to bring in our little triangle, and I had already filled it with a little bit of water. We're going to do the same thing we basically did with our first and second project. We are going to grab our ink. We'll just take it out of here. And then I'm going to grab both of my paint brushes. The darker one is the one we're going to use for our inking. And then we're going to try something a little different today. How about we're going to add just tap your ink. Don't squeeze, just tap it. A little dot of this on our craft mat. We're going to go really light. And then we'll take our little thingy. What do you guys call these? These are called I'm sure there's a technical term, but I just don't know it. I'm going to add some water. We're going to really dilute this. I'm going to grab my paper towel here. It's worked out really good so far for all of our cards. And then I'm going to go ahead and spread out that color. I want some areas of white, so that's why we're spreading it out. Let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, and we're going light because we're going to go light, and then we're going to go back and go dark. So taking our cardstock panel, again for this one, the bottom's going to be covered with a snowbank. So this one we're going to tap and pick up some of that water. Oh, turned out really pretty. I was always amazed. It only does this with, it doesn't do this with watercolor cardstock, but with my white cardstock, it kind of leaves a little bit of texture. It's so crazy how that does that. You can kind of see it over here. Okay, now while we still have our ink, we're going to use the squeeze dropper and drop 1 big drop there. We want a little more intense color, and then we're going to spread this out. No water this time. We'll see what this says. We'll put this over here. We'll add some here. I think that works out really good. Kind of like it. If you want to smoosh it one more time, you can. Why not? Let's do a little smooshing. Let's pick up a little more ink over here. Wonderful. I think that's going to be perfect for what we need. Everybody's is going to be different. That's why I was kind of hesitant on doing the ink smooshing, because what mine does, yours definitely is not going to do. So, and if I did this again, I definitely can do the same pattern again. But it really doesn't matter for our background, because we just want some pretty blue splotches in our background. Okay, I'm going to use my towel here. Let's clean off our craft mat. You can kind of see the blue tint that it leaves. Okay, and if you wanted to use your gloves, you can. I don't know if they'll last 3 times in a row, but so far my hands are pretty good. So we're doing good. Now we're going to bring back our panel, and then we're going to do a little bit of splattering. We'll take our white acrylic paint, add a little bit to our craft mat. We really don't need too much, and it's pretty thick stuff. Just squeeze a little out, and then I'm not going to use this, but I'm going to use my white paintbrush. I'll probably lose it. I'll put it on there. Add some water to it. We're going to thin it out. Okay, and then we'll do some splattering. And I'm just going to go kind of light this time. Now let's go heavy, because I like doing it. We're going to do a little more. And what I do is just tap it with my finger. When you put your clear, if you guys kept it, and you put your clear protective cover on your paintbrush, put your paintbrush over your panel and tap where the clear is. You'll probably get some good splatters, because that's what I did. Okay, we're just going to rinse this out. And then I'm going to set this aside. And while we still have our white acrylic paint over here, this might work well this way. I think I might flip it around. Yes, we'll see. We'll let that dry. And I'm going to quickly pick up some of the paint that I got over here on my craft mat, because it does stick. Okay, let's take our acetate in our pile here. We'll take our acetate and then one of our frames. And this one, if you wanted to create an extra shaker, you can, because there's going to be leftover acetate. Just using our scissors, we are going to do the same and trim a piece of acetate that will fit behind this frame. And I'm going to go over just a little bit. If you wanted to use a paper trimmer for this, you could. And I think that's going to work out. I'm going to trim a little bit off the top here. We'll put this on our craft mat. Pick up the rest of these here. And then we need to bring in our coarse sponge, our sponge stopper here. Then I'm going to pick up some of the ink that is on our craft mat. If you need to add a little bit more, you can, but I think this is going to work out good. And for this one, I just want maybe a little bit. And I'm not going to go on this side. I'm just going to add a little bit to this side, because we're going to add our sentiment on the other side. I think that's going to work out good. Let me show you showing this here. Just a little bit on that top side. Okay, I'm going to clean off this. I don't even think I need to bring this to the sink, but you can bring this to the sink and then you can set this off to the side, and we're going to clean up our mess here. I am going to put this back in my package so I don't lose it. Let's go ahead and let this dry. It's pretty saturated, you can see from the back. Since we double dipped kind of, it's going to be a little bit more saturated. And then also we're going to put our acetate up here, which is probably already dry, but we're going to work on our background. We have our very thick window frame. I want to bring back my craft mat. If you want to not stamp on your craft mat and you want to stamp on some scratch paper, you can do this. We're going to need our stamping block and our 3 inks. Mermaid Lagoon, peacock feathers. Actually, I have these mixed up. Let's see. I have these mixed up big time. Okay, good thing I labeled the bottom. I'd be in trouble. Okay, broken china. We have peacock feathers. There we go. Now we're going to go through our stamp set. And we're going to take our snowflakes. There's quite a few snowflakes, but we are going to use, let's see, I think we should just use 3 of them. So I guess we're not going to use all of the images. You can if you want. But we'll start off with our largest snowflake, this one up here in the corner. And for this one, we're going to use peacock feathers. And we're going to stamp some pretty snowflakes all over our background. What I like to do is kind of overhang and overlap a little bit on some of them. I stamped 6 of these, but we might stamp more. So now we're going to take a stamped chamois or a baby wipe or a towel, and we're going to clean off our largest snowflake. We'll put this back, and then we're going to take this snowflake here. Our next snowflake is this one, right underneath the Happy Winter. We'll stamp this one with our Mermaid Lagoon. And again, we can overlap a little bit. Pretty snowflakes. I stamped 5 of those. And again, we can always stamp more. So, which I think I'm going to stamp one more over here before we remove it. And maybe one down here. And one over here. Let's kind of fill this in a little bit. Okay. So we filled in our middle snowflake, and then we're going to grab another snowflake. For this next one, we're going to take this one. This one here is just below Happy Winter and the sled. We'll take this and we'll stamp this with broken china, our lightest blue, and we're going to fill in some of these areas. Not all of them, because we're going to add more snowflakes. And we can just fill in the area here. That's what we'll do. We'll just fill in the open areas with this last color. I think that looks really good. Nice and even too. What do you think? Now, if you guys aren't happy, what you can do is, this is pretty thick cardstock. If you want to flip it over and do a redo, you can do that too. That's the nice thing about using a heavyweight cardstock, is you can flip it over. Now we'll put away these inks. Put them off to the side. Before we put this away, inside of our lesson kit, there are some small snowflakes. Here's what we're going to do. Take everything out of your little plastic bag here. And you have some small snowflakes. Take 5 of them. Maybe more. I think we just need 5 though. And then using our glue, I think this is going to take a little bit of time to adhere. So we're going to add some snowflakes to our background. We're going to create some sparkle. And I'm going to add one here. And I'm overlapping on my stamped images. It's okay. Let's zoom in. It's okay to overlap on your stamped images. I want to add one here up on top. And if it overhangs off the edge, that's okay. We can trim that off too. I'm going to put one here. I will put one over here. No, I don't want. Try not to put one down here because we're going to put a heart down here. So let's fill in the other areas. So we'll put one over here. And we will put one down here on this side. Well, put one over here maybe. And that will add a little sparkle to our background. We're not going to trim these off right away. We're going to let this set aside. We're going to set this aside and let it dry. Now, in the meantime, we need to wipe off our craft mat, and you can see the ink comes up. If you use oxide ink, it will come up really easily. And I'm using a baby wipe to clean off this, and it seems to be cleaning really well. Okay, let's zoom out. I'm going to put away my craft mat. Actually, I'm going to let this air dry a little bit because it's still a little bit damp from the baby wipe. I'm going to bring in a piece of white cardstock. That's this one here. And then using our acrylic block, take the shovel image in our stamp set, put it on acrylic block. You might want to let it drop and then pick it up. And then we'll take our black ink. We're going to stamp this. I should have mentioned the markers that we're going to need. So if you need to go grab your gray markers, we're going to, for this card, we're going to use C4, C3, and C1. And green. We'll use a green too for the handle. So we're going to use these markers. A green and your grays. Okay, so we have our image. Let's go ahead and do a little coloring. I'm going to take my darkest gray. And what we're going to do is go right above, let's zoom in. Here's what I like to do. I like to add gray right above our little snow pile. The dark gray. The darkest, I should say. Right above our little snow pile. And then I'll fill it in with the next color gray. Actually, we're just going to go a little bit lighter, and then our third lightest gray, we can color it all in. Like so. And then for my handle on my shovel, I'm going to use the darkest gray, and this is C4. Color that in, and then the handle and the very top ridge of our snow shovel, I'm going to use the green. And there is our shovel. Pretty easy peasy. We'll put these markers off. And I'm going to use my scissors and fussy cut around our shovel. Now, when you fussy cut around your shovel and you have an open end on a stamp, what we're going to do is leave it extra long. And we're going to, I'm not sure what the dies are going to do if you guys have a coordinating die set. If you have a coordinating die set and it cuts to the line, that's fine. But if you don't, leave that bottom a little bit longer. And we'll go around the sides here, just leaving a little bit of a border. I want to trim it off just a little bit like this. Okay, so we have our shovel now. Wonderful. Keep this piece of paper. Now we don't need this. We'll set this aside. If you need to stamp again, you have an extra piece. I'm going to put this over here, and then in our kit we have some hearts. Grab the white ones and then the ones with the colored cardstock. We'll take these, and I'm going to use my tape runner, flip around the pattern paper ones, and we're going to take our largest heart and put it on the largest white heart. We're going to basically create a mat for that. We'll do the same thing with our medium heart. Flip around our pattern paper. If you want to use glue for this, you can. We'll add this, and then same with the smallest. So we have a little white outline. Okay? Wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and put these off to the side. Keep your stamp out, and we're going to go ahead and take Happy Winter from our stamp set and put it on an acrylic block. Let's see if our background is dry yet. It's not quite there. So I'm going to use my heat gun, and I'm going to dry this a little bit more. It's almost dry. Okay, I think this is going to work. You just want to make sure that it's flat enough to stamp your sentiment. And I think I'm going to flip it around. And I'm going to stamp Happy Winter up in this corner here. When you stamp your sentiment, this is Happy Winter, put it in the top right corner, and you want to take in mind that you're going to have, you can actually put one of your frames here. That might be better. Line up your frame, and then you can ink it up, and then you kind of know where to stamp. I'm going to stamp in that top corner. Here we go. Happy Winter. I'm going to go ahead and clean my stamp off. And that's all the stamping we're going to do today. So I'm going to put this away. Put our ink away too. Now in our class kit, we have another snowbank. You know the drill. But this one is going to go on the bottom of here. And there's going to be a little overhanging, and that's okay. Let's go ahead and adhere that. We're going to adhere this, and I'm going to line it up to the left corner, and then any excess overhanging I'll just trim off. Okay. Then we're going to take our snow shovel, flip this around. I'm going to add some adhesive behind here. And we're going to take this and do a little tucking underneath that snowbank, kind of at a little angle. And keep in mind that frame. If you want to use the frame as a guide, you want to make sure it's inside the frame, but closest to it as you can. Okay, so tack that down so it's flat and glued down really well. And then what we're going to do, this should be dry by now. If you have any overhanging snowflakes, we're just going to trim these off. Okay, we're going to take our card base, make sure it opens the right way, and then we are going to put our panel on top. This is what I like to do, guys, to center it. Take your background, flip it around, add some adhesive, okay, and then take your frame, line it up where you want it to go. The inside of this is the same size as the inside of this, so line it up where you want it to go, and I think this is a good spot for me. And then what we're going to do is, you have that adhesive behind there. Bring this to your card base and then tack it down and then remove the frame. And then it should be perfectly positioned where you want it. Mine's a little crooked, but that's okay because this is a little bit bigger than our frame. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to flip over our frame, add some adhesive. We're going to take our acetate, flip it around, and we're going to tack that down behind this frame, like so. And then we're going to take some foam tape. We're going to take our foam strips, and I'm going to go around my frame here. And then take another one. We will go around here. Make sure you get these corners connecting. You don't want any of that confetti popping out. And we'll take our last one, and that's going to go on the top. Now we have a lot overhanging here, so I'm going to take some more foam strips, and we're going to go along the outer edge also. If you have any left over, you can stick it back on your sheet. We'll do the same thing to this side. Just go all around the edges. Wonderful. I have extra, so I'm just going to tack them down here. I'm going to remove the release paper. On all of the foam adhesive. And then we're going to grab our sparkle cuts. I'm going to grab some scratch paper. And it's stuck to my bracelet. And I'm going to use my little spoon, and we're going to spoon some confetti in here. And I'm going to go really heavy on the bottom, because I think I want a lot of sparkle for this one. But not too much to where it takes over where the sentiment is. Okay, and then we'll close this lid, put this off to the side. I'm going to scoot these down because that's where our sentiment's going to go. I cleared. This is where our frostiness is. That's okay to have some there if you're going heavy, but do leave a spot to where your sentiment is going to be. Okay? And then we're going to take our card base. We're going to flip it around. And this is important. I think you get one shot with this. Line it up, corner to corner on top. And just tack it down on the front of your card. Like so. It should open. And then you flip it around. And I have a little excess overhanging, you see here, of my card base. Use your scissors and trim that away. If you have a paper trimmer, you could do that. I have one that I use for travel, and it works out really good. I should have brought that out, but I think your scissors will work fine. And then we have lots of snowfall in here. There is our snowy background. Okay, we have 2 frames. What we're going to do is use glue, and we're going to layer both of these together around the edge of our shaker. We're going to frame it in. We're going to put the white one first. And then I'll end up putting the craft one right on top. We're going to stack a couple of them for a little bit of dimension. I want some dimension, but not a whole lot. We'll add this one. You might need to hold it down for a second. Wonderful. Now we're going to take our hearts here. We're going to flip these around. We have some small foam squares. I'm going to put these snowflakes. Actually, we'll put these snowflakes in our leftover bag here. We're going to take our foam squares and add one behind the middle one and then one behind the small one. I don't think we need any behind the big one. We're going to use our tape runner, add some adhesive behind this big heart, and we're going to put this at an angle here, just a slight angle on that bottom corner. Our middle heart, we're going to remove the release paper. This is going to go over here next to our sentiment. And our smallest heart, we're going to remove the release paper. This is where our craft pick comes in handy. Let me grab mine. There we go. And then this one, we're going to add on this side, kind of creating a triangle with this. Okay, we're going to take our twine. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take our craft pick and right in the center of this heart, follow it along and then punch a hole on that score line of your card base, like so. And then you can thread the twine through here, like so. And then we're going to tie a bow right in the center of this heart. Might need to adjust the twine a little bit. And then any leftover twine, we can trim away those tails. And then while we have our glue out, we have 2 foam squares left over. I'm going to put these back in that bag. And I'm also going to put away my foam strips. Kind of keep this desk tidy here. And then we're going to grab our wooden hearts. I want to take one that says love. And if you have an extra glue dot, you can use a glue dot, but I'm just going to use regular glue. A pretty good glob right in the center of that knot. Let me show you. And I'll take one of my hearts, and following the direction of the heart that is on here is the direction of the heart that you want to secure to that bow center. This is going to take a little bit of time to dry, but that will finish off our card today. Another fun shaker, super cute with a handmade snowflake background. I think that turned out lovely. So that finishes off lesson number 3 of the Frosty Fun Classroom. I'm going to grab my schedule. So our next classroom is not November. This is our schedule. Remember, there was a typo. Not November 23rd. It will be December 23rd. And that's next Friday. It's Christmas Eve. So I will see you same time, same place then. And so you basically have a week to get all your stuff done. Okay, I'm telling myself this as I tell you this, because we have to finish our wrapping and finish our cooking or baking, and then we can spend all day Friday in the craft room or in our crafty place to create our final card with our Frosty Fun Classroom. Thank you. I hope you guys are having fun. I love creating frames and shakers, and this one's and I love inking and splattering. I hope you're having fun. It's fun creating those backgrounds, huh? But have a great weekend, and we will see you next Friday. Bye-bye.